Hey everyone, Mr. Glover here. Thought I would go through a couple problems with you today just because it's been a while since we've had any content because of the long weekend. I wanted to go through some questions to get your minds thinking about some of the stuff we learned last week. So first question is about completing the square. When you complete the square, the first thing you have to do is you have to try to eliminate your leading coefficient. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my constant term off to the other side. I'll do that by subtracting 5 from both sides. So it'll be minus 1x squared. We'll call it minus 1x squared minus 6x equals negative 5. Okay, that's just moving the 5 over by subtracting. Then we have to get rid of our minus 1. And to do that, we have to divide both sides by minus 1. That's going to change the sign of every term. So if we divide the first term by minus 1, it'll become just x squared. The second term divided by minus 1 is going to become plus 6x. And then the last term is going to become positive 5. Okay. Now we've got to complete the square. So to complete the square, we have to take b, which is 6, divide it by 2, and square it. So it's going to be 3 squared. And we're going to add 9 to both sides. The left-hand side is now a perfect square trinomial. We can factor that into x plus 3 squared. And some people might be asking, why do I know it's 3? Well, it's the square root of 9. It is half of 6. If I go to expand this out, 3 times 3 is going to get me my 9, and 3x plus 3x is going to get me 6x. And on the right-hand side, 5 plus 4 is 14. So now we can go ahead and we can take the square root of both sides. X plus 3 equals the square root of 14. We could try and pull out any perfect squares, although there's no way to pull out a 4 here, and there's no way to pull out a 9, so we can't. And then lastly, we're going to take our 3. We're going to move it to the other side. X equals negative 3 plus or minus root 14. We move the 3 by subtracting it. So at this point, we technically could be done. We could call our answer this. If we wanted to turn this into decimals, then we would have to go ahead and we would have to actually punch it in our calculator. So technically, this is your answer. And the question is not asking for a decimal, so I'm just going to leave it as x equals negative 3 plus root 14, or x equals negative 3 minus root 14. That's an exact answer. If I put it into a decimal, it's not going to be as exact, or technically as correct. All right, solve by using the quadratic formula. So this was what we talked about last class, and I want to reiterate. When we saw, or when we made the formula, that deriving part for about half of the notes, that is not something you have to do on your own. That is just showing you where it comes from. As long as you know how to use it, that is the important part. So first thing you do when using the quadratic formula is we look at our coefficients. Leading coefficient is 2, next one is 9, and then we have a constant of negative 9. A is our x squared coefficient, the leading coefficient. Negative 9, that's b, because it's attached to x. And then negative 9, that's going to be c because it's our constant. So when you're using the quadratic formula, we take x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And that's all over 2a. We then can go ahead and plug in our actual numbers. So negative b is going to be positive 9, plus or minus the square root. B squared is going to be negative 9 squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 9. We're then going to divide all of this by 2a, which is going to be 2 times 2. All right, so let's simplify this a little bit. 9 plus or minus. I'm going to just compute what's inside that square root. It'll be the square root of 153. All over 4. We can then go ahead and we can do our 2 calculations. So one will be when we're adding 9 plus root 153 over 4. I like to calculate the numerator first, and then I like to divide by the denominator. So 9 plus root 153, that's 21.4 divided by 4, gets us 5.34. In the other case, 9 minus root 153 over 4 gives us negative 0.84. So those are our 2 answers. X equals 5.34 or x equals negative 0.84. We can then go and take this number, plug it in for x squared and x, and this will equal 0 when it's all said and done. And that's basically it. So we've done 2 major techniques. We did completing the square, and then we've done the quadratic formula. If I don't specifically say use this technique, you can use whatever you want. But make sure that when you're using the quadratic formula, that you actually have practice putting it into a calculator, because that's going to be where you run into problems, is actually computing it. So I think that's where I'll stop things. I just wanted to do a quick video today just to give you some content to keep your minds thinking about this stuff. I will send out a link later today with an invitation to our chat Zoom session for tomorrow. And that's it. So I hope everybody has a good rest of the day, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. All right, take care. Bye.